Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, turn back now. Just kidding. Unless you're afraid of the dark or the things that lurk within it. Because that's what we talk about here a lot. And tonight we're diving deep into the abyss of human survival with 3 stories that are as terrifying as they are unbelievable. Stories that will make you question everything you thought you knew about the world around you. So, turn down the lights, grab your blankets, and get ready to explore the darkest corners of human experience. Just remember, you were warned. Our first story takes us deep into the heart of Appalachia, where a young hiker named Jason found himself hopelessly lost in the woods. Now, getting lost in the woods is scary enough, right? But these woods were different. Locals whispered about strange lights, disembodied voices, and shadows that seemed to move with a life of their own. Jason brushed it off as folklore until he'd been wandering for hours, the sun sinking lower in the sky, casting long, eerie shadows through the dense trees. Every turn seemed to lead him deeper into the woods, further from civilization. Panic started to set in, a cold dread creeping up his spine. The forest grew quiet, eerily quiet. The rustling of leaves, the chirping of birds, all gone. It was as if the forest itself was holding its breath. Then Jason heard it, a low guttural growl coming from somewhere deep in the woods. He spun around, searching for the source of the sound, but he was met with only the imposing silence of the trees. His heart pounded in his chest, his breath catching in his throat. He was sure he wasn't alone. As darkness fell, the forest came alive. Whispers seemed to slither through the trees just out of reach. Shadows danced in the periphery of his vision, twisting and contorting into grotesque shapes. He could feel eyes on him, watching him from the darkness. Jason stumbled through the undergrowth, desperate to find his way out. He tripped over gnarled roots, his clothes torn by unseen branches. He called out for help, his voice swallowed by the oppressive silence of the forest. He stumbled upon a clearing, a small cabin nestled amongst the trees. Smoke curled from its chimney, a beacon of hope in the encroaching darkness. Relief washed over him. He wasn't alone. He rushed towards the cabin, pounding on the weathered wood. The door creaked open, revealing an old woman with eyes as dark as the forest itself. She looked at Jason, a knowing smile on her lips. "Lost, are you?" she rasped, her voice like dry leaves crunching underfoot. Jason, desperate for help, stepped inside. The warmth of the cabin did little to ease the unease that had settled over Jason. The old woman, her name was Agatha, offered him food and a place to rest. But her eyes, those dark, knowing eyes, never left him. Agatha spoke of the forest, her voice a low murmur. She told him of ancient spirits, of lost souls, of things that go bump in the night. Jason listened, captivated and terrified in equal measure. He spent the night in the cabin, haunted by strange dreams and the feeling of being watched. When he woke, Agatha was gone. He stepped outside, the forest bathed in the soft light of dawn. He could see a path leading out of the woods. He never saw Agatha again. He never forgot his night in the cabin, the whispers in the woods, the feeling of eyes on him. He emerged from the forest forever changed, haunted by the memory of his encounter with the unknown. Jason's story serves as a chilling reminder that some places hold secrets best left undisturbed, secrets that whisper to us from the shadows, reminding us that we are not alone. And sometimes the most terrifying thing we can encounter is the unknown itself. Our next tale takes us from the darkness of the forest to the vast expanse of the open sea. Imagine a raging storm, the deafening roar of waves crashing against the hull of a ship, the desperate cries of sailors battling the fury of nature. This is the nightmare that unfolded for Captain Amelia and her crew. Their ship, the Lady Luck, was caught in a tempest unlike any they had ever seen. The wind howled like a banshee, tearing at the sails, threatening to rip the ship apart. Waves, towering like watery mountains, crashed over the deck, sweeping men overboard. Amidst this chaos, Captain Amelia fought to keep her crew alive, her heart pounding in her chest. She remembered the old sailor's superstition, beware the calm before the storm, and calm it did. The wind died down, the waves subsided, and an eerie silence fell over the wreckage. But this was not the peace of a storm weathered. This was the silence of the grave. As the survivors clung to the wreckage, they noticed something strange. The temperature plummeted, a bone-chilling cold that seemed to seep into their very souls. Then the whispers started, faint at first, like the rustling of silk carried on the wind. As the sun began to set, casting long, eerie shadows across the wreckage, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. They seemed to be coming from the water itself. The crew huddled together, their faces pale with terror. Some claimed to see faces in the water, ghostly figures with eyes that glowed an unnatural green in the fading light. They reached out from the depths, their cold skeletal fingers brushing against the survivors' legs. One by one, the survivors started to lose their minds. They raved about creatures from the deep, about sirens calling them to their doom. Captain Amelia, her nerves of steel, tried to maintain order, but even she felt a creeping dread crawl up her spine. One night, as the moon cast an eerie glow on the water, the whispers reached a fever pitch. The water around the wreckage began to churn as if something was circling beneath the surface. A figure rose from the depths, its eyes glowing an eerie green. It was a woman, her long black hair swirling around her head like seaweed. Her skin was deathly pale, her lips pulled back in a grotesque smile. She reached out to Captain Amelia, her voice a chilling whisper. "Join us." Captain Amelia, her heart pounding in her chest, drew strength from the memory of her crew. She grabbed a broken piece of wood, holding it up like a crucifix, and screamed, "Leave us be, we are not yours to take." The figure recoiled, its eyes burning with rage. It let out a deafening shriek, a sound that seemed to split the heavens, then disappeared back into the depths, taking the whispers and the cold with it. Captain Amelia and the remaining survivors were rescued the next morning. They returned to shore, forever changed by their encounter with the supernatural. They carried with them the chilling reminder that the sea holds many secrets, some best left undisturbed. Chapter 3. The Cursed House Survivor. Our final story takes us from the vastness of the sea to the confines of a place that should feel safe, a place we call home. But this house held a darkness that was anything but welcoming. This is the story of Sarah, a young woman who inherited an old Victorian mansion, unaware of the sinister history that lurked within its walls. The house stood on a hill overlooking the town, its once grand facade now crumbling, its windows like vacant eyes staring out into the night. Locals whispered tales of a family that had met a gruesome end within its walls, their spirits forever trapped, their rage echoing through the halls. Sarah dismissed these stories as mere superstition. She was a woman of science, of logic, and she refused to believe in ghost stories. That is, until she crossed the threshold of the old house and stepped into its chilling embrace. The air inside was heavy, thick with the scent of decay and the weight of unseen eyes. Dust motes danced in the pale moonlight that filtered through the grimy windows, casting long, distorted shadows on the walls. The silence was deafening, broken only by the creaking of the house settling around her. As Sarah explored her inheritance, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Footsteps echoed from the floor above, though she was alone. Whispers seemed to emanate from the walls, chilling whispers that sent shivers down her spine. Doors slammed shut on their own, their locks rattling with unseen force. Objects moved, seemingly of their own accord, as if manipulated by unseen hands. Sarah tried to rationalize these events, but deep down, a primal fear began to take root. One night, as Sarah lay in bed unable to sleep, the nightmare began. A cold spot settled over her, the temperature plummeting as if a window had been thrown open. She could feel a presence in the room, something dark and malevolent watching her from the shadows. then she saw it. A figure materialized in the doorway, its form shifting and swirling like smoke. It was the silhouette of a man, tall and imposing, with eyes that glowed an eerie red in the darkness. He stared at her, a menacing grin spreading across his spectral face. Sarah, paralyzed with fear, could only watch as the figure glided towards her, its cold, ethereal fingers reaching for her throat. She tried to scream, but no sound escaped her lips. She was trapped, at the mercy of whatever evil lurked within the walls of the cursed house. Just when she thought all hope was lost, a surge of adrenaline shot through her. She scrambled out of bed, her heart pounding in her chest, and ran towards the door. She managed to escape the room, slamming the door shut behind her. She could hear the enraged howls of the entity trapped within, its fury echoing through the house. Sarah didn't stop running until she was out of the house, her lungs burning, her body trembling. Sarah never returned to the house. She left it to rot, a testament to the darkness that resided within its walls. She carried the scars of her encounter, both physical and emotional, a chilling reminder that some places are best left undisturbed, their secrets buried beneath layers of time and fear. And there you have it, 3 terrifying tales of survival that will keep you up at night. If you enjoyed these stories, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more spine-chilling content. And remember, sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones we create in our own minds. Sweet dreams.